Ethical issues and constraint in the practice of forensic science and criminalistics. Ethics in forensic science has two topics or two variants. Forensic science in the legal system and hindrances to ethical practice in forensic science. Criminalistics, forensic scientist Paul Kirk emphasizes the importance of ethics in forensic science. Ba't siya importante? As it directly impacts the fates of those involved in criminal cases, kapag kayo nagkamali dyan, maaari tayong makapagpakulong ng mga taong inosente at syempre, napaka-crucial niya, excuse me, especially in crime identification dahil sa pamamagitan niyan, may papakulong natin yung mga taong may sala or may kasalanan. Mga taong hinihinala pa lamang natin ay mapapatunayan natin siya talaga ang accused sa pamamagitan ng mga results ng test na gagawin ng isang forensic scientist. But human involvement can lead to malpractice. Ethical handling of evidence is essential for society. Kung magkakamali ka dyan sa paggawa niyan, again, makakapagpakulong ka ng tao. Nagkamali ka ng paglagay ng sample, nagkamali ka ng pag-label ng pangalan. Siyempre, yun yung mga malpractice na magagawa mo. Forensic science in the legal system. Forensic science focuses on legal matters involving evidence collection, preservation, and analysis, crucial in linking suspects. It involves analyzing, interpreting, and reporting evidence, ensuring accuracy and truthfulness without bias, while law is a collection of man-made rules. Ang ginagawa natin sa forensic science ay for legal purposes. Yung mga test naman sa mga clinic sa labas, yan yung iba naman yung test na yan. Mga ginagawa dyan is for COVID test, HIV test, kung meron ka bang UTI, o iba't ibang mga test na ginagawa sa clinic. Iba yung ginagamitan nun. Dito, kasi ginagawang ebidensya ito. Kaya meron tayong mga sinusunod dito na legal matters or mga ah law and evidence rule na tinatawag. At yung mga sample dyan, yung mga results niyan, accurate yan. Totoo yan. Walang bias yan. Yung mga yan, yung makukuha yung evidence na yan, yung mai-interpret yung mga yan, walang bias dyan kasi nga accurate yan. Magkakamali lang yan kung kayo ay magkakamali sa paglagay ng label or ng sample sa loob ng machine. Forensic scientists must be knowledgeable about the law and the evidence rules. Adhering to strict procedures and maintaining impartiality, they must have sufficient training and education to avoid issues in forensic analysis. Papasok ka dyan, syempre, dapat may knowledge ka regarding crime laboratory or you are a graduate of chemistry. 'Di ba? Para alam niyo yung gagawin niyo sa loob. Alangan naman magpasok tayo diyan ng puro criminology lang. 'Di ba kaya nga kapag nag-a-apply, open siya sa lahat ng course kasi pag puro crim lang ipapasok mo, oo, meron tayong basic knowledge regarding that subject. Pero iba pa rin yung talagang yan yung pinag-aralan mo yung sa buong 4 na taon mo. Naunawaan ba, guys? And kahit ano pang course yan or saan siya ilalagay, walang kahit sino ang ma-excuse sa training. So, again, lahat yan pagdadaanan mo kung gusto mong maging police or dyan ka mapunta sa forensic science or sa criminalistics. And forensic scientists have a different ethical obligation. Although we have ethical standard na sinusunod sa atin yon, pero doon naman sa pag-treat ng mga patients is iba-iba, kagaya nung sa victim. Yung patient mo dyan ay nag-suffer ng pain and uh, parang pangmomolestya, nagkakasugat yan, nagkakatrauma yan sa emotions nila, sa kanilang mentality, tsaka sa physical body nila. So, ang tendency, takot sila sa tao. 'Di ba? Takot sila na takot silang gawin ay mahawakan yung mga ganong parts. Kaya kayo, mag-iingat kayo as a law enforcer, especially kung i-approach nyo sila. Kasi nga, fragile silang mga patient. And iba rin yung treatment ninyo sa mga suspects. Kasi si suspect, syempre yung kausap nyo na dyan is si law enforcer. Si police din kausap nyo dyan. Kay prosecution, ginagawa yung examinations dyan para sa prosecution. And sa society, ang kadalasan naman na involved dito is yung mag-asawa na nagte-test kung kanino pupunta yung custody, kung anak ba talaga ni ganito yan, o kaninong magulang si ganyan. Yun sila. Kaya sila society. Kasi walang involved na victim and suspect. And especially, they must maintain. As a forensic scientist, you must maintain the trust and provide unbiased report. Kasi yung forensic labs ay pinapatakbo ng public funds. Hindi yan private clinic na pwedeng maghatag-hatag or under the table. Kaya nga yung mga judge natin, diyan nagpapagawa ng mga tests para sure na walang bias sa result. Hindrances to ethical practice in forensic science ethics face challenges due to forensic scientist competency. The Esman Haas and J.R. Gore suggest two ethical requirements: technical competence, reliable analysis method, and honesty in qualification and experience. Yan yung dalawang ethical requirements ha. Ito hanggang kay method and honesty and experience. Si Fred Salem Sain is a forensic scientist that was accused of misrepresenting his qualification and fraudulent activities, leading to discredit and dismissal of charges. This case highlights the impact of forensic scientist testimony on case and lives. Meaning, etong dalawa na to ay na-break niya. So, mablay siya dyan sa dalawa na yan. Forensic evidence integrity is threatened by bias due to governmental pressure and expert witness support, often leading to biased results and biased judgment in legal proceedings. Proper decorum of witnesses. Proper decorum for witnesses only ha. These are the do's and don'ts. Arrive on time. Dress professionally. Speak clearly and confidently. Direct answers to the person who asks. Come as prepared as possible. And the don'ts are: do not disrupt the court with outburst. Do not interrupt the judge or lawyers. Don't make faces or roll your eyes. Don't chew gum. And do not use your cell phones. In court, courtroom etiquette is crucial for witnesses, ensuring respect for the court, attorneys, and jury. Basic rules of decorum apply to any courtroom setting. First, always be on time. Pag nakalagay sa subpina na, for example, December 13, 2 p.m., hindi ka pupunta doon na December 14 or December 13 at exactly 2 p.m. Tsaka ka palang aalis sa bahay nyo. Dapat you have that delikadesa na pinag-usapan natin last time. Kailangan 20 to 30 minutes before nandoon na kayo sa korte. 'Di ba? Hindi pwede na si judge ang mag-aantay sa inyo. Bawat kaso na meron si judge, Hindi natin alam kung anong oras matatapos yon dahil sa maraming mga pag-usap at pagbabago sa bawat prosecution. Kaya ikaw ang dapat mag-adjust para sa kanya, hindi si judge. Next, dress appropriately. Hindi pwede na pupunta ka doon na para kang tatambay lang, magsha-shopping, manliligaw o kung ano man. Kailangan, papangalawa kayo sa pormahan ng abogado. Anong pormahan yon? Siyempre dapat corporate attire ang suot-suot nyo. Next, number 3, respect the court and its officers. Kapag si judge pumunta dumating sa court, kayo ay tatayo. You need to rise. Hindi extra rise ha. You rise. Tayo kayo, and then kung kakausapin nyo siya, tatawagin nyo lang siya na your honor. Kahit close friend nyo pa yan, nanay, tatay, karelasyon nyo pa yan, hindi nyo siya pwedeng tawagin sa pangalan or pet name, tatawagin nyo siya na your honor. At kung sakali man na makakaramdam kayo ng pagkapikon dun sa abogado na kulang na lang sabihin, isa kayo sa mga pumatay o miyembro kayo ng sindikato, nag-aalibay lang kayo, huwag nyong pagbabanta ng buhay ng abogado na yon or mapipikon kang sasabihin mo, sasapakin na kita, di ka titigil. Hindi pwede yon. Guys, kayo ay makakasuhan. Number 4, speak clearly yan. Number 4. Kapag tinanong kayo at ang sagot ay yes, you say yes. Hindi pwedeng tango-tango. Pag sinabing sagot, hindi ang sagot, iiling-iling kayo. Hindi ganon. Hindi tango, hindi iling, hindi taas-taas ng balikat ang sagot. Sabihin nyo dahil may bibig kayo. Number 5, answer truthfully. 'Di ba pag sa palabas, nalala nyo sa mga drama sa teleserye, yung left hand nakapatong sa Bible and yung right hand nakataas, tapos stating the oath that na do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? 'Di ba tinatanong 'yon? And class, you need to take those oath seriously. Why? Again, makakasuhan kayo dyan pag gumawa-gawa kayo ng storya o pagsasabi ng kasinungalingan sa loob ng korte. Si judge ay nire-represent ang buong korte ng buong Pilipinas. Ang lahat ng korte sa buong Pilipinas and ang ating batas. So, sa loob ng court, yan ang siga. Siya ang boss. And mga bata niya, yung mga bugado dyan. Naunawaan ba? Kahit anong siga mo sa labas, dyan, di ka ubra. Number 6, answer directly. Hindi yung ang dami mong sinasabi. Pag ang tanong sa'yo, yun lang din ang sagot. Isang tanong, isang sagot. Number 7, dealing with objections. Pag tinanong ka ng opposing attorney at opposing lawyer, tapos syempre, mag-object naman yung lawyer mo, hintayin mo si judge na verdict kung sino ba. Sabihin niya sa'yo kung sino ba yung dapat mong sagutin or dapat mong sundin. Hindi pwedeng bida-bida ka ron sasabihin, ay wait lang, isa-isa lang, may nakalaban. O ikaw muna. Hindi ganon ang diskarte sa loob ng korte. Number 8, be prepared. Ang aga mo nga dumating, hindi ka naman prepared. Lahat dapat ng personal errands mo, maayos mo yan bago ka sumabak sa pagiging witness, umupo dyan sa witness seat na yan. Why? Kasi, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin kay judge na, ay wait lang judge, nagkamali ako ng park ng motor ko. Tinutuo na, teka lang, balik ako. Di pwede yung mga ganong excuses mo sa buhay. Lalong-lalo na kung ikaw ay isang nanay, sasabihin mo, wait lang judge, padidayin ko lang anak ko, mas unahin ko pa ba yan? Kesa dito, nagugutom yung anak ko. Hindi pwede yung ganon. So ito, pinapakita lang nito, wala talagang sound yan, pinapakita lang yan kung ano ang itsura sa loob ng korte. Just in case hindi nyo alam. Courtroom decorum policy. The purpose of this policy is to state certain basic principle concerning courtroom behavior and decorum. Sa loob ng korte, meron kang mga dapat i-abide. Ha? Dapat i-abide. Including all person at council table. You understand? What are those? First, stand when court is open. Recessed, adjourned, addressed, or retired. Approach your jury or witness without court permission. Remain at lectern unless using exhibits or charts. Number two, address all remarks to the court, not to opposing counsel or the opposing party. Number three, avoid disparaging personal remarks or acrimony towards opposing counsel and remain wholly detached from any ill feeling between the litigants or witnesses. Number four, the court requires all parties, including witnesses, counsel, and parties, to be referred by their surnames unless prior permission is sought. Number five, each party's attorneys must examine or cross-examine each witness, with the attorneys expressing objections during direct examination being recognized for cross-examination. Number six, counsel should request permission before benching. Hand documents to clerk, mark unmarked papers or exhibits, and hand evidence to opposing counsel upon offer. Next, the courtroom must not display or position any exhibit, whether marked for identification or not, unless admitted into evidence and permission to publish to the jury has been obtained. Number 8, counsel should only state the legal basis for objections and refrain from further comment or argument unless the court requests further clarification. Number 9, counsel is prohibited from repeating or echoing the witness' answer during the examination. Number 10, private offers or requests for stipulation should not be made within the hearing of the tier of fact. 11. Counsel is prohibited from expressing personal knowledge or opinion in opening statements or arguments to the tier of fact. Number 12. Counsel must discipline individuals who use gestures, facial expression, or audible comments as approval or disapproval during witness testimony or any other time as this behavior is strictly prohibited. Okay? Remember all that ha. Kailangan yung tandaan lahat to. The text emphasizes the importance of maintaining a respectful environment for all parties involved, including attorneys and witnesses. 14. Counsel is prohibited from re-argumenting after the judge has ruled. 15. Counsel shall complete resolution, negotiations, and advise clients of their settlement option in advance of court hearings. 16. The courtroom strictly prohibits tobacco use, beverages, edibles, and gum chewing except as permitted by the court. Next, cell phones and pagers should be turned off or vibrate mode, while computers should be used with audio off. Sorry. 18. All counsel shall provide a copy of this policy to clients prior to coming to court. Number 19, Family Law Rule of Procedures 12407 prohibits children from entering courtrooms, waiting areas, or hallways without court approval unless they are a party to the action. Now, we have two types of witness. Investigator must classify witness based on their perspective to assess evidence reliability and apply appropriate rules and levels of probative value considering potential court proceedings. First, eyewitness and corroborative witnesses. Second is independent witness. Si eyewitness, ito yung tipo ng witness na kapag tinanong ng abogado, ang salaysay nito ay, kitang-kita po ng dalawang mata ko na si Juan de la Cruz ay binaril si Antonio Luna at humandusay sa sahig. Habang si corroborative witnesses naman, ang salaysay niyan ay, kitang-kita ko po si Juan de la Cruz na lumabas ng bahay may daladalang baril. Tapos nung pinuntahan ko po yung bahay na pinanggalingan niya, nakita ko pong may taong nakahandusay doon or nakita ko po si Juan Luna na andoon nakahandusay sa sahig. Naliligo sa kanyang sariling dugo. See the difference between the two? Pero kaya tayo nagkaroon ng independent witness kasi sa mga ganong insidente, madalas na nagiging witness is yung kamag-anak, kapitbahay, kakilala, pinsan, or sino pang kakilala or malapit doon sa subject natin or doon sa lugar. Habang si independent witness naman kasi, siya yung tipo ng witness na wala talaga, as in zero, third-party witness lang siya. Not associated with the victim, not associated with the suspect, and not in any way associated to the criminal event. Kunyari, taga-QC ako, naligaw lang ako ng Pasig. Sa Pasig yung crime scene. Nakita ko lang naman yung lalaki. Tumakbo, may dalang baril eh. Malik ko saan galing yun. Sinilip ko kung saan siya nagpunta. Nakita ko lang may lalaki rin nakahandusay ron. Tumawag na ako ng pulis. Yan yung independent but corroborative witness. Are you following, people? Lesson 12, Witness Protection. Victim assistance and witness protection. Crime significantly impacts victims, causing physical, mental, emotional, and financial harm. Kaya kayo, kung sakaling kayo may magiging pulis, pakiramdaman niyo yung mga victim. Baka biktima sila ng pang-abuso, pananakit. Siyempre, takot sa mga lalaki yan. Kung na-rape man yan or nabugbog ng asawa nila, alis kayo. Gumamit kayo mga babae, yung palapitin ninyo. Or tulungan nyo siya na mabalik yung tiwala na nawala sa mga tao. Malaman niya or ma-realize niya na ay hindi naman lahat talaga ng tao ay kagaya ng asawa ko or kagaya ng lalaking nang gahasa sa akin. Kailangan niyo siyang tulungan magtiwala ulit. And ang cooperation nila ay napakahalaga ng biktima at ng witness para sa prosecution ay mapakulong natin yung mga kriminal kasi rights ng mga yan, ng victim and ng witness na tumanggi na hindi magsampa ng kaso, mag-alinlangan na ay parang wag na kaya. Kasi dala yan ng takot eh. Hindi natin alam, baka tinatakot yung family nila or papatayin sila. Maraming mga reason ba't hindi nila itutuloy yung kaso. So, hindi nyo pwedeng sabihin sa kanila, pagsawa na, ano ba? Hindi nyo pwedeng ganunin or takutin or sabihan sila ng mga salitang hindi maganda or kaya-aya. UNODC responds to that matter. States are obligated to uphold the fundamental rights of victim, provide necessary assistance, and safeguard them from further harm. Yan yung mga pwede nyong gawin. Pangako nyo sa kanilang nandyan ang government para tulungan sila, na nandyan ang kapulisan para suportahan at proteksyonan sila. All criminal justice systems have a duty to put in place procedures to provide measure for protection of person whose cooperation with the criminal justice system in an investigation or prosecution puts them or persons closely associated with them at risk of serious physical or emotional harm. Such measures may include, again, yung mga at risk lang talaga or parang pagbabanta na sa buhay or napagbantaan na talaga yung buhay nila. Ganon. Assistance before and during trial to cope with the psychological and practical obstacle of testifying. Second, protective measure before, during, and after hearing or trial for at-risk witnesses. Court procedures to ensure the witness safety while testifying. And last, a covert witness protection program. Dito naman papasok yung mga safe houses na meron ng ating government. Transnational organized crime poses challenges for states in providing protection and assistance to victims and witnesses, necessitating increased international cooperation and measure to safeguard their physical integrity and prevent threats. Minsan, kung sino pa yung dapat magtatanggol, mag-iingat sa kanila, sila pa yung mga tao na mole sa loob ng organization. Sila pa yung kasabwat pala ng sindikato para matiyak na hindi na magsasalita si victim or si witness para masigurado na hindi matitimbog ang kanilang grupo. So, yan yung mga isa sa malaking challenges na ating gobyerno, hindi lang na sa atin, kundi sa iba pang bansa. Victim and Witness Assistance and Protection. UNODC advocates for a comprehensive approach to witness protection, including early identification management by trained law enforcement, and potential permanent relocation and re-identification in exceptional cases. UNODC assists member states in assisting victims and protecting witnesses in organized crime. It reviews legislative frameworks, develops national policies, and develops tools for witness protection, including a manual.